All right, campers, get out your hockey masks, your machetes, and your mommy issues. It's Friday the 13th. Like every horror fan, I get giddy whenever Friday the 13th comes around. This being December and it's cold outside, this should be the moment where I join in the chorus in demanding that we get our Friday the 13th movie in the snow. Actually, no, I don't. I don't care anymore. But I'm not going to go on a rant about this Jason universe. Let's just celebrate Friday the 13th for the trash cinema that it used to be. So, I got my Friday the 13th shoes going here. I'll be spinning this bad boy later this afternoon. But of course, the most important aspect of Friday the 13th are the movies, of which there are 12, and I own all of them on Blu-ray, courtesy of Scream Factory, who put out this great box set. Check out that artwork by Devin Whitehead. Released in 2020. This Friday the 13th kind of snuck up on me, so I was scrambling to find what I should do for a video, and I thought, well, I did a ranking the last video. Why don't I do a ranking of the Friday the 13th movies? This is going to be more of a free-flowing, off the top of my head ranking. So this will change for sure. Rather than bore you with another long intro, why don't we get into it? So at number 12, I decided on Jason X. This was released by New Line Cinema in 2002. I never liked the idea of Jason going in the outer space. As far as dumb goes, this was just too much. There is one awesome kill in this movie, and you probably know which one I'm talking about. But other than that, it's just not my thing. At number 11, I went with Jason Goes to Hell. This was released by New Line Cinema in 1993. This is actually the first Friday the 13th movie released by New Line after they had acquired the franchise. This is one of those movies I haven't spent a hell of a lot of time with. I think I've only seen it like a couple of times. And each and every time I don't really remember a whole lot about it, except for that, swerve ending. But I feel like I need more time with this one. But at least it's not in space. At number 10, I chose Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. This was released by Paramount Pictures in 1989, the last of the original 8 Friday the 13th movies by Paramount. I don't like that I have to put this one solo, but the thing that kills this movie for me is the fact that the Motion Picture Association of America were coming down hard on this series, and this is one of the tamer Friday the 13th movies, unfortunately. At number 9, I chose Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. This was released in 1988 by Paramount Pictures. First Friday the 13th movie to feature Kane Hodder in the role of Jason. This was also directed by John Carl Buechler, who was a prominent special effects wizard in the 1980s before he made movies like this and Troll. I really like this movie a lot, but much like Jason Takes Manhattan, this is one of the tamer ones of the bunch, mainly due to the MPAA. All right, next up for number 8, I chose Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. This was released by Paramount in 1985. This was the 5th installment of the series. I know there's a lot of people that don't like this installment because it doesn't have Jason, but the reason why I rank this above the previous two is because it is a nasty, sleazy picture. And I dig that a lot. Coming in at number 7 is Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. This was released by Paramount in 1986. This was Paramount's apology for A New Beginning. This is the beginning of the zombie Jason, and it's one of the more humorous Friday the 13th movies from the 80s, for sure. But it's a lot of fun, and there's some good kills in it. All right, number 6, I went with Friday the 13th, released by New Line Cinema in 2009. This is, of course, the remake, directed by Marcus Nispel. I didn't like this movie when I first saw it, but upon repeat viewings, I realized this is an honest-to-God Friday the 13th movie. It goes back to the beginning of what Friday the 13th is. Jason is a masked killer who lives out in the woods and kills teenagers. Okay, at number 5 is Freddy vs. Jason, released by New Line Cinema in 2003. This is the horror movie mashup fans had been waited for 10 years ever since Jason Goes to Hell, and it did not disappoint. I saw it opening weekend. I absolutely loved it, and I still love it to this day. Number 4 is the 4th movie in the series. That is Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, released by Paramount in 1984. This is another one of those Friday the 13th movies. I haven't spent the most time on it, but I do remember liking this one a lot because it is Jason, the earliest Jason that we got. This movie also marks the return of Tom Savini doing special effects work. And this was directed by Joseph Zito, who did The Prowler. Tom Savini worked on that one as well. It's a classic entry, for sure. And then there's Crispin Glover's dancing. All right, at number 3 is the one that started it all. This is Friday the 13th, released by Paramount Pictures in 1980, directed by Sean Cunningham. I've talked about this movie a little bit before in another video. This is one of the very first horror movies that I ever saw. And it was pretty soon afterwards that I saw 2 and then 3. So Friday the 13th was a major part of my childhood. And it all started with this one. All right, number 2, I chose Friday the 13th Part 3D. Released by Paramount Pictures in 1982. This was one of 2 Friday the 13th movies directed by Steve Miner. This, of course, was the first appearance of the infamous hockey mask, which has been associated with Jason Voorhees ever since then. It's still early Friday the 13th. It's still the sleazy exploitation Friday the 13th. And, of course, there's the infamous disco intro music. But definitely a highlight of this movie is Larry Zerner in the role of Shelley, who is the goofball jokester guy. He's great. All right, if you're keeping score, you probably already figured out what my favorite Friday the 13th movie is. That is Friday the 13th Part 2, released by Paramount in 1981, directed by Steve Miner. I chose this one because this movie freaked the hell out of me when I first saw it, and that sackhead Jason is pretty scary. I mean, it's just a burlap bag with one eye cut out, but there's just something really creepy about that. And it's still pretty creepy too, and it's still pretty grisly. This is still early Friday the 13th, so yeah, this is my favorite one. Even though, to this day, I still haven't forgiven it for killing Alice in the first 5 minutes. Well, that was my Friday the 13th ranking for now. It's your turn to put your ranking in the comments below. What is your absolute favorite Friday the 13th movie, and what's your not-so-favorite Friday the 13th movie? There are no right or wrong answers. There's no right or wrong ranking. We're all having fun here. It's Friday the 13th, for Christ's sakes. If this is your first time here, my name is Josh. This is Brain Pollution, a celebration of physical media. If you like this kind of stuff, give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, have a very happy Friday the 13th.